Idaho murders. FBI profiler says suspect could go to victims' funerals to take pleasure in crimes. The unidentified suspect who fatally stabbed 4 University of Idaho students could show up at his victims' funerals to take pleasure in thinking they got away with the crime, a retired FBI profiler told Fox News Digital. Sometimes offenders show up, said Mary Ellen O'Toole, who once worked in the Bureau's prestigious behavioral analysis unit. They may take a lot of pleasure in thinking that they got away with the crime, and so going to a service like this where they can walk around and people don't realize who they are, that can certainly feed into that kind of egotistical response, she said. The Moscow Police Department, which is working with the Idaho State Police and the FBI, has said they haven't zeroed in on a suspect or motive yet. Officials also said they haven't determined whether there was more than one assailant. Late Wednesday night, Moscow police appeared to walk back their claim that one or more of the victims was targeted. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted but continue to investigate, the Moscow Police Department said in a news release. There's an arrogance about this crime. There's a high-risk nature, she said, noting that the offender entered a home occupied by 6 people, where there was every conceivable possibility he would have had his ass kicked. Investigators would most certainly be videotaping and observing these events, added O'Toole, who famously wrangled a confession out of Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway, and is known as the FBI's leading expert on psychopathic criminals. A law enforcement source told Fox News that authorities monitored Wednesday night's on-campus vigil closely, taking photographs in case the killer made a discreet showing. Kaylee's father told ABC News that the family was deeply concerned that the perpetrator would show up if they held a service. In 2015, Randolph Sanders gunned down co-worker Kim Jones after she discovered he'd stolen money from the children's nonprofit where they worked and was about to report him. Before he confessed, he attended her funeral and even shook her son's hand, according to Crime Plus investigation. Henry Louis Wallace, dubbed the Taco Bell Strangler, lured 11 women to the fast food eateries in North and South Carolina before raping and choking them to death. He knew many of his victims and often attended their funerals, where he comforted their families, until he was caught in 1994. Hundreds of family members and friends attended Chapin's Nov. 21 funeral in Mount Vernon, Washington, about 6 hours from the University of Idaho. Kernodle's obituary says a memorial is scheduled for Friday at Real Life Ministries in Post Falls, Idaho, her hometown, to honor all 4 victims. It's unclear if the event is in lieu of a funeral. An obituary for Mogen says that she and Goncalves will have a joint memorial at some point in the future. The slain students were found shortly after noon on Nov. 13 after police received a 911 call requesting aid for an unconscious person. Based on the complexity of the home's layout, O'Toole believes the killer likely identified their prey days in advance. Studying floor plans, which don't show furniture, or peeking through a window wouldn't have been sufficient, she added. All the cases that I've had with a crime like this, if the offender is successful, especially with people in the house, they've had to get in the house and look around, she said. O'Toole surmised that the killer had significant experience with a blade. This person knew how to use a knife on a human being, she said. This person knew that that knife was going to create a mess, and they were okay with that.